Jesus did not stop the crowd in Capernaum that day to heal a desperate woman, because by the time he turned around, she was already entirely healed. The bleeding had stopped, her exhausted body was restored, and she was already slipping back into the anonymous crush of bodies pressing against him on the narrow dirt road. She had what she came for, a stolen miracle, taken without permission. Yet he brought the entire procession to a halt anyway, delaying an urgent mission to save a dying child, simply to force a woman who was used to hiding to look him in the eyes. In the original Greek of Mark's Gospel, the word used for her physical healing is sozo, a word that means much more than just curing an illness. It means to rescue, to preserve, to make completely whole. But that wholeness was not finished just because her bleeding stopped. He halted the universe in its tracks because walking away with a secret cure was not the same thing as walking away known. For 12 years, she had been a ghost in her own city. Under the strict purity laws of the time, her chronic condition made her perpetually unclean, meaning everything she touched, every chair she sat on, every person who brushed her shoulder, shared in that impurity. We might picture her standing at the edge of the marketplace, wrapping a worn shawl tightly around her face, stepping backward into the shadows whenever a neighbor approached. The agonizing isolation must have been a heavier burden than the illness itself. The Gospels tell us she had spent all her money on physicians, only to grow worse. A certain woman, who had an issue of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things by many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. Think of the empty coin jars resting on a dusty windowsill, the savings slowly drained away over a decade of false hope. Think of the local doctors who shook their heads and closed their heavy wooden doors. When suffering stretches on for months or years, it has a way of eroding our identity, until we begin to believe we are nothing more than the pain we carry. We start to think of ourselves as a nuisance, an interruption to the busy, healthy world moving past us. When she finally reached out to touch the hem of his garment, she was hoping to go completely unnoticed. She wanted the power of Christ without the gaze of Christ. Perhaps we have felt that way too, praying quiet, desperate prayers in the middle of the night, hoping God will fix our difficult circumstances without asking us to step out of the shadows. But this is where we find the profound truth of why Jesus stopped the crowd. He asked who touched his clothes not because he was confused, but because he refused to let her remain a thief in the crowd. Jesus said, "Who touched me?" When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, "Master, the multitudes press and jostle you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus said, "Someone did touch me, for I perceive that power has gone out of me." If she had slipped away quietly, she would have been physically well, but she still would have felt like an outcast who stole a blessing she didn't deserve. He paused everything to bring her out of hiding, to publicly declare her clean, and to restore her to her community. He didn't just want her to have a healed body, he wanted her to have a restored soul, a heart set free from shame. Notice the physical garment she reached for. The fringe she touched was likely the tzitzit, the blue and white tassels worn by Jewish men on the corners of their cloaks to remember the commandments of God. These threads, swaying in the dust as he walked, represented the covenant, the very holiness of God. She reached through the dirt and the noise to grasp the edge of the sacred. Sometimes, our faith looks less like a triumphant, joyful march and more like a desperate crawl through the dust. Speak to the children of Israel, and tell them that they should make themselves fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put on the fringe of each border a cord of blue, and it shall be to you for a fringe, that you may look on it, and remember all Yahweh's commandments, and do them, and that you follow your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to play the prostitute. We barely have the strength to lift a hand, let alone shout for attention like the blind man on the Jericho road or the lepers calling from a distance. Yet even that faint, trembling reach is enough to draw the attention of the Creator. I wonder how many of us are carrying a long, hidden season of suffering right now. We walk through crowded rooms, sit in busy offices, or share meals at loud family tables, carrying heavy emotional or physical burdens that no one else can see. We smile and nod, answering that we are doing just fine, while carrying a quiet desperation inside. It is incredibly easy to feel invisible in a fast-moving world, to feel that our pain is too small to matter to anyone else. If you find comfort in these quiet moments of reflection, and if you are looking for a place to rest and walk this road with us, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the channel. There is always a place for you here. Consider the man Jesus was walking with when this sudden interruption happened. Jairus was a ruler of the synagogue, a man of wealth, status, and immense public respect. He had fallen at the feet of Jesus, begging for the life of his little girl. His 12-year-old daughter was actively dying. The contrast presented in the text is sharp and deeply intentional. A named man of high standing pleading for his beloved 12-year-old child, and an unnamed, destitute woman suffering for exactly 12 years. Society would confidently dictate that the dying child of a prominent leader demands immediate attention, while the chronic issue of a poor, isolated outcast can certainly wait another day. But the grace of Christ does not operate on a human schedule. Behold, one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, came, and seeing him, he fell at his feet, and begged him much, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Please come and lay your hands on her, that she may be made healthy, and live." He went with him, and a great multitude followed him, and they pressed upon him on all sides. He stopped the frantic procession to Jairus' house to attend to someone everyone else ignored. It tells us that Jesus never views our brokenness as an annoyance or a delay to more important work. To him, the interruption is the ministry. We see this beautiful rhythm throughout his life. Jesus was constantly stopping for the ones the world walked past without a second glance. He stopped beneath a sycamore tree in Jericho to call down a despised tax collector who thought he could observe grace from a safe distance. He stopped by a well in Samaria in the heat of the day to speak to a woman who drew her water alone to avoid the harsh whispers of the town. So he came to a city of Samaria, called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son, Joseph. Jacob's well was there. Jesus therefore, being tired from his journey, sat down by the well. It was about the 6th hour. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." Each time, he offered more than just a passing solution or a quick miracle. He offered his full, undivided presence. He looked them directly in the eyes. When the woman with the issue of blood realized she could not go hidden, she fell trembling at his feet. She likely expected anger, or at least a stern rebuke. She confessed the whole truth, laying her 12 years of agony and her stolen miracle out in the open dirt before him. And how did he respond? He looked down at this frightened, exhausted outcast, and he spoke a word of tender affection. "Daughter," he said, "your faith has made you well, go in peace, and be healed of your disease." He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, and be cured of your disease." It is the only time in the recorded Gospels that Jesus directly addresses a woman as daughter. In a single, breathtaking word, he rewrote her entire identity. She was no longer the unclean woman. She was no longer the town pariah. She was family. This is the ultimate promise for us, too, when we find the bold faith to reach out to him in our own hiddenness. He doesn't just want to patch up our surface wounds and send us on our way back into the lonely crowd. He desires a relationship that stands fully in the light. When we feel like an inconvenience, when our prayers feel like frail whispers lost in a roaring crowd, we can trust that the Savior of the world is willing to stop the universe just to look at us. He feels the gentle pull of our quietest faith. We do not have to steal our grace in the dark, hoping to go unnoticed. We are seen, we are known, and we are called His own beloved. May you feel the weight of His loving gaze today, and may you know the deep, abiding peace of a God who stops for you. If these moments brought you peace, consider subscribing and walking this road with us. A quiet like, or a word left in the comments, helps these reflections reach others who need them, and that support is what allows us to keep creating them. May peace remain with you until we meet here again.